raise your hand. Okay.
May it please the court, your honor, before you is Mr. George Scott. He is here on warrant numbers 2023-A45, 101, 00592, and 596. Your honor, these charges are 2 counts of attempted murder. He is represented by Attorney Barr with the Williamsburg County Public Defender's Office. This is defense's motion for a bond reconsideration in the matter. Bond was denied at the magistrate level. And your honor, I would like to point out, we do have the victims over here seated next to Ms. Linda Woods. We have Ms. Melanie Cole along with her mother, along with the mother of the other victim, Mr. Tyson Funderburg.
Okay. Tell me about the fact.
And your honor, back on November 23rd of 2023, Williamsburg County Sheriff deputies responded to 95 Gretchen Road in the King Street area of Williamsburg County in reference to a civil dispute or domestic that was going on. Deputy Arroyo arrived on the scene and was informed by several people on the scene that the suspect, Mr. George Alexander Scott, was armed with a baseball bat and assaulting the victim, Ms. inside the guest house behind the residence. Deputy Arroyo approached the residence and could hear a female screaming as well as multiple loud thumps consistent with an assault that was in progress. Deputy Arroyo could hear the victim screaming, "No, no," and stop. Deputy Arroyo found the front door to the residence to be locked and forced entry inside the house by kicking down the door. Deputy Arroyo could still hear the sounds of assault in progress coming from the left side of the house. He found the bathroom door to be open a few inches and could see the victim lying in the bathtub. The suspect was perched over the victim with a silver and colored baseball bat in his hands. Deputy Arroyo had to draw his service pistol and ordered the suspect to put his hands over his head and walk backwards towards him out of the bathroom. The suspect dropped the bat on top of the victim and then turned to face Deputy Arroyo and confronted Deputy Arroyo, yelling about him not having a warrant to enter the residence. Deputy Arroyo told the suspect to exit the bathroom and that if he re-entered the bathroom to try to retrieve the bat, that he would be shot. The suspect then turned to face Deputy Arroyo and stepped backwards from the bathroom. While walking the suspect to the patrol car, Deputy Arroyo advised Central Dispatch there was a female who was obviously injured and EMS had to respond to the scene. While the area was being searched incident to his arrest, Deputy Arroyo was advised by the defendant that after securing the suspect in the patrol car, Deputy Arroyo re-entered the residence and found the female bleeding from the head and dazed and confused lying in the bathtub, and he observed that she had multiple bumps and large swelling on her head. Deputy Arroyo was also informed that the suspect causing it to bleed, knowing that he had. EMS then had to transport the female to MUSC Black River for treatment. While on the scene, they collected that silver and colored baseball bat, and they also collected a folding razor knife that the suspect was using as well. Law enforcement also got in contact with Mr. He filled out a statement in regards to this as well. Both the victims stating that during the altercation at that residence, Mr. George Scott came charging toward Mr. with the razor knife and was attempting to stab him, and that's when he was able to overpower Mr. Scott at that time, and that's when he dropped the knife. Your Honor, also we have some pictures that have been provided by Ms. of her injuries. One picture specifically, you can see the state has spoken. He stated that he is immensely terrified of Mr. Scott. He is a dangerous individual. He fears for his life, his family's life, and he does not feel he needs to be released. His mother is also present. I believe she will reiterate the same. Furthermore, since his arrest on November 30th of 2023, he has been contacting Ms. sending her messages, a few of them that are highlighted. He says, since you want to hang up and think it's funny, someone is pulling into 121 Gresham Loop in the next 20 minutes to deliver a message to you since you think it's cute. On December 8th, everything that happens now is your fault, love you, and I'm sorry that you think it's a game and it's funny. Have any idea what you're doing to me mentally when you hang up if you don't answer me before they take this tablet. And it goes on, these continue all the way past Valentine's Day, past February 23rd, and so on and so forth. And I believe additional messages as well.
Okay. Does he have a point of record?
Yes, sir, Your Honor. Back in 2007, he has a breach of peace, possession of marijuana back in 2010, shoplifting in 2014, forgery less than $10,000 in 2015, along with a petty larceny. Failure to appear after release, that is from 2014.
Say it, tell me that one more time.
It says failure to appear after release for felony, and the court date is December 5th of 2014.
Which day?
It is here, Your Honor. It's like it came from Horry County.
Okay.
He also has another forgery in 2019. Possession of marijuana, that dates back to 2017. I believe that concludes the significant portion of his criminal history, Your Honor. And we do have the victim seated in the courtroom that wishes to address the court.
How we glad to hear from
I'm Linda Woods with Winsburg County Solicitor's Office. I'm the victim advocate. I stand on behalf of read her statement. It says, Your Honor, I request not to speak but be heard. I understand my feelings are rather important as the main victim, but speaking in front of him, the defendant, is still very hard for me. I know what I say will be too hard if I have to look at him to say it. On one hand, I have been clearly able to see that our prison system is there for a reason, keeping harmful people behind bars, but I've also witnessed it does not protect the victim and their families or loved ones. Protection cannot come from just a piece of paper. I can assure that I will not feel safe, happy, or be able to forget and move on from what happened last Thanksgiving night. If George Alexander Scott is let out, I won't be able to sleep or continue with normal life if he is released. It's true that I love him, but I love my family more. I couldn't deal with any of them being hurt by someone because of me. I would have rather died. He did try to kill me right before the officer Aurora kicked in my door. I was praying to God to make sure I'm in heaven or someone would come in and shoot him. I hope he gets help, but I cannot take the chance of him being free anywhere close to where me and my family live. No, I haven't done a restraining order because a piece of paper cannot save me, but you can, Your Honor. Please set my family's and my mind at ease and do not grant him bail. Thanks.
Okay.
And we have other family members who would also like to address the court.
Okay, I'm glad to hear from you. Anything else? Anything else?
I know, just corrections to his criminal charges, we do have the completed sheet now. Back in 2019, he had a domestic violence second degree, as well as an assault on a police officer while resisting arrest. And again, in 2020, he had a domestic violence second degree. And in 2021, he also had a violation of probation, and he was sentenced to 30 months.
In 2021?
2021, I believe he received some credit for it.
Where was that violation? What county?
Florence County. I'm sorry. It looks like Horry County.
Okay. Was it the same victim or a different victim?
I have no way to tell you on it.
Okay. Was it the same victim? No, different victim.
I'm not sure. Someone different.
Different, okay. All right, what you want to tell me, Mr. Ball?
Thank you, Judge. May it please the court. Judge, we're here on our motion for bond reconsideration, and we appreciate the state for allowing us to come before you on such short notice. But Judge, Mr. Scott has been detained continuously, I believe for a better part of 6 months now. He's been in a detention center. We've attempted unsuccessfully, Judge, to have 2 preliminary hearings on this case. I believe the first time we were supposed to have a preliminary hearing, I believe I had a scheduling conflict. The second time, the officer did not show up. And so Mr. Scott has been continuously waiting to essentially tell his side of the story, Judge, because I think you've been doing this long enough to know that most people just don't show up and start swinging bats. There's typically something else that has happened. Now, Mr. Scott is from the King Street community. He does have strong ties here. Judge, he's still the church, I believe, that was referenced. I believe he still is affiliated with that church. His pastor holds a real dear place in his heart. And Judge, he was on the way to try to work to get his life better. He has agreed, and he has no problem if the court does see fit to grant him a bond. He has no issue with agreeing to a permanent restraining order of all parties, whatever, GPS monitoring, whatever it is, he's fine with that, Judge. And I believe that we have to first, before we say a restraining order can't work, we need to first put one in place and to see. Now, Judge, as far as Mr. Scott's version of the story, he did not show up at this residence on this day. He was brought. He was brought there because he was in a relationship with this young lady. And Mr. Scott tells me that on this day, which I very distinctly heard, I believe it was the day after Thanksgiving or either the day of Thanksgiving, Judge, we can pretty much surmise what I believe probably happened. But Judge, what Mr. Scott tells me, and I know he's in the doubt his story, is that he was there, that he was brought there. He informs me that he told all parties involved, because there is a family dynamic to this story, Judge. There's a very serious family dynamic. The families, or the victim's family, or the alleged victim, from what Mr. Scott tells me, and then from what I've heard, they don't too much care for Mr. Scott. And that's something he's known for the better part of his relationship with the alleged victim. And it was because of that Mr. Scott says that on this day in question, that he told whoever was driving the car and the alleged victim, do not take me over there. I do not want to go over there. You know how your family feels about me. This is going to be an issue. He had a knife. And Judge, he says it. He had a knife. He had a knife in self-defense. Because Judge, as he said, as I stated before, he didn't arrive at this place. He was brought there. And because he was brought there, no one's testified or no one said anything in the incident report that the victim said that he showed up at the house with a bat, which means that the bat was already there. And so, Judge, what Mr. Scott says is that Mr. essentially tried to attack Mr. Scott with the bat. Mr. Scott pulled out his knife. There was a tussle, and in that tussle, Mr. Scott, the alleged victim picked up the bat, and when Mr. Scott thought that the situation was diffused, he got struck with the bat. So he took the bat. And at the time that he took the bat, Judge, at that point is when Officer Arroyo, according to his incident report, hears something. But Judge, in the discovery that I've seen, this picture that was provided to the court this morning is not in the discovery. We have no way to even validate that those injuries or anything related, there's no timestamp. It was not in the discovery. We have not been able to have a preliminary hearing. He has not had any opportunity for us to question the officer on this, but Judge, we believe that he has a defense. We believe that once he has a day in court, but Judge, he's been in for 6 months. We're asking for a bond to be set based on the amount of time he's been in. We're asking for whatever conditions the court sees fit to put on that bond. But Judge, there is a lot more to this story. There is a lot more to this story. There is a lot more that needs to be vetted out. And there's a lot of questions that we have for the officer that we have not been able to ask. And we would like that.
Is it the body cam video?
We have not received a body cam video, but there should be a body cam video, and that's one of the questions we've
I don't know if
asked.
it doesn't exist, but the state does not have it.
And I believe that body camera would illustrate if there was, please We just don't know, Judge. And because we don't know, because we haven't had a chance to have a preliminary hearing, to dive into this, to ask questions, and the whole time, all these questions that we do not have answers for, Mr. Scott's been sitting in the detention center for 6 months. So we're not asking you to drop the charge, we're not asking you to dismiss it, we're just asking for a bond.
Then,
In honor of the state made, we just have to take into consideration these threatening messages that the victims have been receiving while he's been in the detention center.
I understand. So,
And Judge, not to cut across, if I can address that, now, again, I'll put on the record, I was surprised to hear that, but Judge, just based on the timeline, and I've informed Mr. Scott, he knows that no matter what happens, that he is not to make any contact with anyone in the two families. But Judge, if you just look, I believe you listened to the chronology, history of the messages were right after he just got arrested. Right when the emotions were high, he was in the detention center, and just based on the tenor of the messages that they read, he's using language, why would you do this to me? You know this isn't true. He's not saying, I'm gonna get you. That's a man saying, this is wrong. But Judge, he should not have contacted her. He submits to that, but those messages, Judge, were right at the time he just got locked, where he'd just been detained.
And it continued months later, and included messages of him sending someone to their house to cause their family injury. 12.
he's got to have one by then, and all discovery's got to be in by then. Body cam and everything else. I'm back here on the 22nd of July. We'll have this, I'll continue this hearing to the 22nd of July, but all discovery's got to be in. If discovery, the body cam and everything else has got to be. If that is not happening, he's gonna get a bond on the 22nd. So all discovery better be in by the 22nd, and including the body cam video. And then I'll decide on the 20th. If everything's in, he has a chance to look at it and see what's on that body cam. Then we ought to be able to get to the bottom of it. And whether I give him a bond or not, I have some concern about his record. I have some concerns about him texting her from the jail. And a piece of paper won't protect her. So I'm not guaranteeing he's gonna get bond unless none of the discovery's in. So the sheriff's office has got to comply with that. He's got to have a preliminary hearing before the 20th.
Yes, sir.
And I'll see y'all back on the 22nd.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This is Christian News TY. I'm Tony Conyers. Is there any newsworthy events in Williamsburg County? We will get them to you as soon as possible. If not, you can follow us on Christian News TY Facebook. You can follow us on YouTube, and you can follow us on our website.